stage. You have to bring him up.
He's on the stage.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I see you talking, but I can't hear you. Damn it.
All right, 1 minute.
It's possible every time. Aha. It's on. Okay, I think I fixed it. Steven, can you say hello again?
Yep. Hey, can you hear me?
Amazing. Yes, we're good.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We're going to get started. It's been a couple of weeks, bunch of updates. We'll go talk about a blink drop, talk about working towards weekly rewards, showing real-time attaches. Honeybee is live. We'll do pollen general Q&A, and then we'll turn it over to Steven, who with his team has been working really hard on solving problems, and I think they solved a couple of them today. So there's some exciting news there. Not to steal his thunder there. So I'll touch about it. So we will do tomorrow.
No joke?
Do you have a joke? Let's do it. You can't just look it up and try to find a joke like afterwards. It has to be PT'd up.
Okay. I'll come in later with the joke.
All right. So blink drop tomorrow noon Pacific time in the Pollen store. We're launching the Moonflower with a 30 hex limit at 7,500 and a Sunflower with a 16 hex limit at 4,300. We had a couple of those that went out to enterprise orders, I would say as early access / beta testing. And we've discovered a couple bugs. We think fixed them. Oscar, any updates on?
They're being fixed as we speak.
Well, so yeah, so there was some provisioning problems we had, which I think those were addressed. And then is there any other besides that?
It's just making sure that the SAS goes on correctly. So you have 3 sectors, right? So
Yeah, so it's a SAS configuration.
then the chances of it going wrong is higher because you have to make sure the 3 grants are accepted. If not, you will lose range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Concerns are 3 grants. Basically, it's like 3 flowers within one because they're each 60-degree sectors on the 180. Okay. That's that on Blink. Weekly rewards in progress. We are understanding the extra work that it does not make sense. No side talk. If you guys want to have a side conversation, you can go outside.
No, that's a question from the community.
Oh,
Yeah.
Moonflower is not 360 degrees. The sunflower is 360 degrees.
Yes, but there's 3 sector each. Some are 3 120 sectors or 3 60 sectors.
360s on the moonflower.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean 360. I mean 3
Yeah.
times 60. Sorry. That's a good catch on that. Yeah. So always jump in and be like, hey, we have a question in
Okay.
the BeeHive, and let's do that. But if you're gonna do a side chat on something different, then
And then there's also confusion on the sunflower because it's 390-degree antennas, and people are like, well, that math doesn't work. But if you look at the propagation pattern, you do get 360 degrees of effective coverage from those 390-degree antennas. On our Twitter, we can send it back out.
yeah, it's RF, so it's all black magic anyway. But the 90 is not a true 90. It's more fuzzy in terms of how wide, and the 2 fuzzies next to each other make it where it's treated as a 360, even though it's not.
The way I like to put it is these aren't laser beams.
They're not lasers. Correct.
How cool as that would be.
I would love. Although you'd be, if you guys are concerned about propagation problems, if you had laser beam, then any leaf or thing in the way would chop that up.
So one thing I want to call out is some folks in the enterprise drop are seeing lower hexes in the moonflowers, and we think this is a SAS issue. So we're still looking at it, but
Yeah,
Max
SAS issue, but it's not. It hasn't been fully clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
My moonflower, 1 hex in location. BC is anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's SAS. Is this SAS being reported in Botanist so you can see what's happening live on all three?
We're registering it, and Alex is working through the registrations now. But yes, the status.
Because that's the key thing that is going to chop down the power.
Yeah.
We've seen better, in our testing. Did we publish a test on Buttercup versus Moonflower in terms of getting
We haven't published it yet.
longer range even from that? Okay, all right.
Yeah, we haven't.
We should show that so we can have a range is the key issue and getting coverage is a key issue. So we did speed tests in a real world setting with all the flowers that we had available to us and compare them for both speed and distance. I think that's a metric, and we should send it out on the community.
Yeah, we can share that. I think we have a blog post.
Oh yeah, we can include that in the blog post. That'd be a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have
Along with the
a
data
post
sheet.
coming later today that'll add the moonflower and the sunflower to the flower comparison chart, and so we can also share some of the results of our testing when we looked at these moonflowers in comparison to the buttercups with regards to range. So we'll publish it today.
Results were unbelievable.
That's good.
Amazing. That's your joke. No, you got to get it come
No, I
over.
got Jensen's been sending us. You want me to do that?
Let's do it. It's good since we interrupted the flow.
What do you call a bee that lives in America?
A bee that lives in America.
A U.S. bee.
Amazing. Amazing. I think my brain just exploded.
Yeah.
Is it a USB-C or A? All right. Okay, back to the important things. Unless there's more questions coming in the chat. So weekly rewards is really important. We think it's going to be alleviating a lot of the hexes. So there's going to be a lot of the burdensome work in validating network. There will be a tie-in where the flower can't go down. Otherwise, you will lose the ability to validate because ideally, if you don't move the flower and you validate it once and you haven't changed it, that week, then you should still be able to get credit. So we're working on that. However, first we are going to be displaying real-time attaches in the Explorer, which we think is going to help on the network validation. So there, as your bumblebee or honeybee moves around, you'll see the attaches happening live in the Explorer as they connect. They will not be a validation being shown. It will just be seeing the attaches, so you can know which flower you've attached to. Related to that, we've been working a lot also on handoffs. We have all the buy cells handoffs working. There's a problem working with handoffs on Blink, which we've addressed with them, and they are working on that. And we're working with our friends from Moso who are in the office this week on getting those up. And I think that'll be a big unlock, which comes back to what's happening next on doing, we're sharing a little bit of raw thinking. It's not guaranteed, but we're thinking we're going to have a bonus for having handoffs between the flowers from one to the other. And the current thinking is boosting the effective hex coverage that each flower is getting if you're able to hand off to another flower. So one straw man proposal we're thinking is if you had say you had a moonflower that hands off to a moso flower, your hex validation on the flower side that you can earn would be larger than either one of the flowers individually, because you'd be tying them together into one contiguous coverage. That comes potentially with the concept of staking, so that you can go beyond your existing hex limits by introducing staking. I know Christian's working hard on that. We don't have anything more concrete than this, but other than thinking that staking would come in to increasing the hex limits through the concept of either you have a super awesome location and you're seeing more, or you're connected to other flowers and you're able to then hand off to other flowers for growing the network organically. And we think that on the bumblebee and honeybee side, there'll be a per handoff bonus that will happen, so that we can kind of figure out all the places where these are happening and go from there. That's kind of complicated, so I'll wait for a second. And I'll read the comments in the BeeHive. Okay, day one hasn't been able to test since. I don't understand what
Real-time
this.
data viewable and Explorer. Okay, so for the Explorer, just jumping in on that real quick, it's also paired with some redesign work. So it's a bigger push than just pushing out real-time data, is we also have to give it some design love.
It's real-time attaches first, and then real-time data
Yeah.
for what the validations will be.
Yeah.
As they're being pushed out.
Yeah. Max is asking for a BB attach limit. There's like 20% of the world's BBs in San Francisco, so flowers in SF earn double when compared to a flower in Houston. Both cities have the same amount of flowers, but SF hoards the bumblebees, leading to extremely asymmetric rewarding of coverage.
That's fair. We need to fix that. We want to reinforce not a bumblebee density, but a flower density, and specifically a flower handoff capability. And so we should definitely have a leveling in some ways on there. And so I don't know if it's a limit or if it's a normalization, but I think that makes a lot of sense. Christian, any thoughts?
No, I was just thinking the other side of that is maybe to create its own problems, but maybe it's pushing more bumblebees out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think bumblebees are the limit. This limited supply of bumblebees are more of the issue than having to rebalance the rewards function. I think it's more we need to push more bumblebees out to people who need them, and we've been working on getting more stock and supply of those. So yeah.
But ultimately, I think that there's a limit to the value of additional validations. If you're getting 10 bumblebee validations, in the hex, or you get 1,000, is it 100 times better to get 1,000?
I think that if we're considering bumblebees and honeybees a surrogate for data at the moment, then yes, the number of honeybees is the best surrogate for quote unquote data transfer. And so yes, having more honeybees or bumblebees in the area does mean you should get more rewards. That's how I've thought about it. I mean, I'm obviously open to changing that, but I think that as long as it's a surrogate for the amount of quote unquote data that we're supposed to be passing through the flowers, then yes, the number of honeybees should matter, or the number of bumblebees, should matter.
I see that. Also, I like the having the picks, as you get more and more. So like every 10, attaches, you might have the picks for those.
Yeah, so we have a question from 44 Court. Which is more valuable, new coverage in new locations or high signal density in existing coverage areas?
We need
I
density.
think both are equally as valuable and both have to be incentivized in different ways. And so that's why we have hex validation incentives, which are geared towards covering new areas and getting areas covered and showing that coverage. And then we have the separate set of attach rewards that is more of a surrogate for data payments. So that's kind of the framework that we've established for now. That's not to say that they're perfectly balanced right now, but the ratio right now is 10 to 1 if it's a honeybee versus a hex validation, and 5 to 1 if it's a bumblebee versus hex validation. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a cap towards, or there's a diminishing return, which is like having after X amount, whether it's 10 or whatever the number is, makes sense. And second is we want to introduce a handoff bonus, which will make it where we are incentivizing clusters of flowers as opposed to this disparate flower connectivity. We're upgrading the bumblebee. We've pushed a couple small. Oh, it's not the only test fleets. Okay, so we've been pushing new bumblebee software to test fleets, and one of the things that we're going to do, maybe not the first release, but we want to be able to. The only place where we do want to provide coverage in new areas is where there isn't other MNO connectivity. So if you're in a place that doesn't have coverage, but there are users, pick a random spot in Nevada, there's a good chance you'll be able to do it as long as you're not in a big city. Providing service to that community is really interesting, and we want to incentivize that. So the bumblebee will be mapping what the signal strength of the other carriers are, and from that, creating a way to favor new deployments where there is no coverage from other carriers. Absent that, we would like to have more coverage in cities or places where we're densifying. So right now it looks like LA, Houston, San Francisco, Chicago, New York are the places that are bubbling up. There's a couple other places like I think Minneapolis, Milwaukee. Sorry, I'm thinking Milwaukee, not Minneapolis. But the objective is we need to be able to get enough density so that it actually matters. And that's the push that we're on right now. Yeah, I agree that they're not surrogate for data transfer. They'll be more profitable than most flower. Yeah, of course. Seeing lots of peeps get BBs just to push them out of SF for profits. Yeah, I think we're going to be, by clipping the maximum number of, or by reducing the function as you get more and more BB density, you'll address that part, I think. Big Mac sauce. Are Moso fixes confirmed to work? Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on the Moso stuff till later, but that's a great question. Well, single density is great. That's really important. I mean, that's how we make a better network, and that's how we add more advantage.
I'm just laughing at the format of the third person use of his username. That's amazing. I love it.
Wow, this is great. Everybody talks different. Is there an update to extremely poor performance on moonflowers? BC seems 10x better so far. Yeah, the belief on that is thinking that there's a SAS nerfing happening on the moonflower.
Yeah, it's not consistently.
We'll have Blink next community call. Should invite them. We've got a lot of help from the Moso team, and so we want to give them a shout out here and go. Okay, so we talked about weekly rewards, explores, real-time attaches. Honeybee is live. It's in the App Store. We haven't done any marketing yet, but I think we'll do that soon when we officially announce it. We're going to continue to make changes, so you'll see that's coming. Let us know what features you guys think need to come in first. And we think we're not going to run it in the background because that encourages potentially gaming. Once we need to. Okay, so let's do Q&A on non-Moso, and then I'll turn it over to Steven, the co-founder and COO of Moso, who's joining us today to give us an update.
So now that there's a trio of Blink, Moso Labs, BiCells, will there be an expansion of more radios? Or is this a time to focus on all the previous hardware?
Exactly.
Are we going to blow up and do more radios, or are we going to not sell more radios and circle back to like cut the stem and all that stuff?
Well, we're doing both, but the future is greenhouse. So we're all of the AGW flowers or the stems are going to be upgraded over time. We're going to start with the buttercups, camellia, and elderflowers in one wave, and then we'll come in and do the dandelions. We're going to be doing the handoffs on the non-stem flowers only. So that will be one way to kind of get there. We will not do those rewards until we know that everybody has a chance to convert theirs. So don't feel left out. Okay. Let's.
Fisher wants to know how he can convert all of his helium radios to pollen radios.
Do a side chat on that. I love the spirit. I think there's an ability to do that. But that's a follow-up conversation.
We missed one up. Any product offerings coming to receive pollen radio signals in residential settings and create a Wi-Fi hotspot like a home router? Great question.
It's a spring. You want to talk about that?
Sure. We've been testing. They're called CPEs, consumer premises equipment, if I'm not getting that wrong. From both Blink and BiCells. The Blink ones are pretty slick looking.
That looks like the other ones look like a
The outdoor one is really nice.
Yeah. It's just a cool piece of hardware.
I just got a sticker on. I like stickers.
We are planning on selling those soon. There's also a lot of interest in the WISP community about using pollen, and from some of our partners have been doing some pretty interesting things in the fixed wireless space where you use CPE. So you may have seen on our Twitter feed, we're talking about a project in Shreveport that we're supporting where there's a team there that has a contract with the city to provide low-income residents with high-speed internet, and they're using Pollen to power that. So that's a pretty good test of using Pollen as a wireless internet service provider. Fixed wireless access is also what it's called. We think there's a huge opportunity for that to monetize Pollen in that market.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's on the Wi-Fi side. I mean, I think this was an unofficial Pollen product, but I love the spirit, the leaf. I think somebody did for a while a doorbell.
Steven.
I know it's exactly that's why I'm giving them a shout out. So that's great. We want to get it where that can happen organically without being involved, and so we're super stoked about making that happen. So I think we're moving away from the stem because that's going to make the managing the radios and operations better. We're waiting on a Bicells firmware update there. Which did we get it today, like they promised, or no? When did they promise it? Early this week. Okay, so till Wednesday. Okay, 2 more days. So that's that, and then obviously we want to support all the LTE connected devices. So we think like security cameras are going to be a big deal. We think all private connectivity things that you want to have bandwidth on, but you don't want to run a cable too. So, all right, where are we at?
We have one more question.
The indoors.
Yeah, are we thinking of
PGP?
changing the way indoor units are going to are validated? Are we thinking we're going to change the way indoor units are validated? It's harder for indoor peeps to get their hex counts from outside parties.
Yeah, it's. I think the indoor, we don't have a good solution for indoor. We need to come up with something new and different than what we're doing now.
The connectivity bonus.
Well, I think that you mean the handoff bonus.
Yeah.
I think that could be one to do it. I think indoors is a big value add. It doesn't lend itself nicely to having Bumblebee validation, and so we're aware that that's a problem, and we want to encourage that. Maybe there's higher data reward from that, but that's the thing there.
PGP is a good question.
Yeah.
Do we want to put Andrew on the spot? Seeing the
Well, yes, a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's here.
Let's
Fisher's here.
Fisher.
Fisher, you want to talk about?
Cool.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, so yeah, we got the 14 grants through to the final round right now. We're looking to do the Pollen Pitch Day. Next, we're going to have 2 sessions of that because there's 14, and 14 pitches at 10 minutes each would be a long meeting. So we're going to be doing 2. It looks like most likely, unless there's any big upsets in terms of someone's schedule, we're going to be doing next Wednesday and Thursday. So we will be announcing it officially in the next couple days, and keep it on your schedule. The community will be able to listen in and see how these projects are pitched, and get to provide some feedback and kind of a temperature check for the community, and allow you guys to get involved. So I look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday and Thursday tentatively.
Cool.
And it will be streamed on YouTube, on the Pollen YouTube, I believe, and the Pollen Twitter. So you guys will be able to tune in and ask questions live and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Gonna make you famous.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I was gonna say a bad joke, but now remember. Oh, refrain. Okay, so I think let's do more questions because I want to save some time for Stephen here. Okay, so let's go through.
So Colton has a question.
Yeah.
We're not.
Christian, do you want to address it?
It's a short answer. We're not going to get into SEC stuff.
We don't talk about specific pricing of the token and whatever, anything trading on the network.
Correct.
We're building a network
Correct.
and we want to incentivize the network building. We don't sell the token and we don't talk about it. I did have a good Colton follow-up, which is we think that there's going to be, we understand better now that on the cycle of using the PCN, before we had 10% to the ecosystem, 10% to the network maintainer, and 80% back to the flower owner. We're thinking of having it where there is not 100% being redistributed back out. So there is some erosion. We were thinking 20% in that, which would create a sink for PCN. You want to talk about more about your thinking there? Because that was your...
Yeah. Well, it was actually, I think, Max and or Andrew initially floated it, but yeah, there would be a constant burn, not a burn mince, but just a constant burn. Again, this is just an idea thrown out there. If that was interesting, we've thrown it into the hopper of things we're thinking about. But some percentage of every PCN spent on data credits would just end up getting burned forever. And to the extent that you end up with, years from now, one PCN, we could just redenominate.
At zeros.
Yeah. So thought it was really interesting. And again, something we're thinking about.
Every time I see Colton, I think burn equilibrium, and this is some work that you're doing on that. And so I wanted to give him a shout out because I think he would like that. So no comment on the other questions. Trading.
No, will you guys be attending Solana events to boost visibility of Pollen? Feels like this recent event was a missed opportunity for you guys.
Where is I'm following the thread. I'm not following this. To me, it was like
We
awesome.
read faster than you.
You do read a
We've
lot
already
faster.
read like all of the other questions.
All right. So the next question is just Solana. Okay. Well, we
We
don't
might.
have any comment on that right now either. I think you want to talk about? Do you have anything to say about Solana?
I don't know.
No.
Noted. Good
Thank
question.
you.
We might attend some other events in the future. We just missed this one. There's a lot going on.
I think we're really focused on making the thing work versus making the thing hyped.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the right answer.
That's the
Yeah.
main difference here. Once we have a real network that's up and working, then we need to start hyping it to get users. But we're really in the building the connectivity piece of it right now. Burn it all, basically. Okay.
All right, it's 5:28. I do want to make some time for Stephen to join. But there's a last question. Have you and the team done any forensics on the buy sells hardware? Is it secure and nothing malicious or data collection considering the hardware's origins?
Yeah, so we've done some looking into it. We do analysis of where the traffic is happening, so you can see where the outbound traffic is going. We also have a root access account to the radio, so that we can do some. You run our diagnostic there. In fact, if you can push even on that, because we still don't have that for most, and that's one of the things that we're having. We'll put a little pressure on that. We think that's an important thing, so we can have a piece of our software running on the unit as well. All of the radios I think are still made in China, although some of the radios are made maybe assembled in Taiwan, and future blinks will be assembled in the US, but not the current ones.
No. So they've got a small inventory of moonflowers. I think they're down to like 600 that were made in China. And then once those are sold, everyone will be coming out of Vietnam.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe USA. Design in USA. Design in California / wherever they are.
Yeah.
I think they're in the East Coast, but yeah. Okay. All right. So I was wrong.
Jersey and Toronto. Yeah.
So the design in Jersey, made in Vietnam is less fun. but
People in Jersey might disagree. I don't know.
Okay. So we take the privacy aspect very seriously, and we think that that's very important. We've seen some other MNOs do accept the ByCell's hardware onto the network. It was a Verizon announcement where somebody else is, blatantly rebranding their ByCell's radios, under a different brand. And we talked to them about how they do that, and we understand that the software is, accessible, and when we get there, we can do the same thing that they do. All right.
It's one last one.
Curious on your work breakdown between 10, 50, 50. I'm more like 100, but that's yeah, I think I'm assuming that was a personal question to me. Like, no, I think I'm mostly I mean, I go where the problems are. How about that? I ninja solve into that. And wherever the fires are is where I go running to. So users of ByCell should put them behind a firewall. Sure, with IPS supported those in the NGS live. Yeah, so they do go through. You want to talk about how the tunnel encapsulation works on the radios on Greenhouse?
Oh, that's, I mean, all that. So then I guess there's two types of traffic that happen in the radio. There's called control plane traffic and there's data traffic. The control plane traffic basically authenticates with the network and basically sets up the connection with the core. And the data traffic is basically where your data exits safely without being snooped on. So then each radio has the IEPS server, so it's basically a VPN tunnel that routes the data back to our exit nodes. And basically that's how it works. So basically the Mosoflower, the Blink have that set up correctly now. So all your data cannot be snooped on.
Either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
So we're fixing that on the ByCell radios pretty soon when we switch them from stems. And then the ByCell radios that we shipped on Greenhouse will get a software update OTA to activate the.
That's what we're waiting for on the trading off of it. Yeah. Moso cameras, we haven't played with any, but we definitely want to play with them soon. I think that's a great thing. I think the more users, iPads, iPhones, Android versions of those things, cameras and other applications is a great idea.
I mean, technically you can do any IoT device that is band 48 compatible. So you can start researching.
Yeah, and we're gonna be helping people with that on BB updates, so people can use the same modem and provide them with the Pollen.Vision chip that they can put on their project and expand and go from there.
We can have a shield for a Pi.
That'd be really cool. I think we should do that. We should do a Pi Shield. Is Pollen planning to make their the radios multi-home with all of these DIY projects coming out? I don't understand what multi-home means. So if you can help clarify multi-home, then we can talk about that. Not a question, just to say great job, everyone sticking channel. It's a great community. Great. Was it answered?
This one of them.
Yeah, the answer is we're busy building stuff and we missed it. We might make the follow-up ones.
Okay. All right. I think we gotta move over to Moso and Steven so we can get some good Moso chat in.
Great.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
Steven.
All right, Steven, welcome. You're up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anthony. Well, first of all, thanks for the invite. It's been quite a while since we've done this first drop back in a couple months ago, and I think we've learned a lot. And just want to kind of talk about Moso Labs and talk about the radios and what we're doing to improve ahead of a new drop, and then also I can talk about the new exciting products you guys kind of mentioned earlier with the Leaf cameras and other cool products that we're working on that function on CBRS. So first I'll do just like a little quick intro on me. So I am Stephen Leotis. I'm one of the co-founders of Moso Labs. And Moso Labs, you might have seen us kind of publicly saying, hey, we're here back in June of this year. But we've actually been working in the decentralized wireless network space for almost 2 years at this point. And so I also have a function within our parent organization called CIRCOM and run product management and marketing for our organization there. Now, bringing that up because it's important to kind of understand the pedigree of of the products that we build. Most of labs is not just coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, we got these radios. We've been building LTE and now 5G products for over a decade at this point. So we've done a lot of different interops, and working with Pollen has been tremendous. And I think that we have to want to reinforce that we have the capabilities, and we have people on site now that are working through some of these issues that I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes here. So the Mosa Labs team, you might have talked to me if you put in a support ticket or others. We are distributed across the U.S. We have partnership with Sercom, as I mentioned, so that development is in Asia. We build all of our products in Taiwan at this moment, and our distribution is U.S.-based out of Memphis, Tennessee. So, all that being said, we have the 2 radios today. We have the indoor radio and the outdoor radio. And those were the 2 products that we launched with the first drop. And so I'm going to get into a little bit of kind of the nitty-gritty details on some of the things we learned, things we've improved on both the technical and logistics side ahead of a second drop, which is coming soon. Hopefully everyone's aware that we were the first radio to launch with Botanist, which was a new software application for onboarding and provisioning devices on the Pollen network. And so we worked really closely with the Pollen team to work out some of those kinks as we got going. We had some issues around when you could get your NFT, and how that was kind of prioritized. Or making it prioritized before SAS registration might happen, right? And then we had a couple of things around, GPS and IEPS connection messages as we displayed them. So I think Emily and Victoria have kind of explained some of that previously on Discord. So I feel really confident, and have done this myself a number of times, that experience is tremendously improved from a couple months ago when we got this off the ground. Now, some of the radios that are in the field today, we launched with a firmware that's out in the field today. And we've been working through a couple of things that have been found to be Mosa Labs needs to update something, Pollen needs to update something. So a couple of things, I'll highlight them briefly and then kind of talk about where the change has been done or if the change is pending. So we'll start with kind of a simple one here. I know there was an issue about router firewall potentially blocking communication. I want to highlight that some of these issues will be unique to a given customer. You on the call, your router might have something set that needs to be updated, and we've worked through that a few times with radios, and that's just something we'll have to deal with on a kind of one-off basis. And I think we'll start to try to add more to the knowledge base on those findings as well. Now, we had an issue with not connecting to the Pollen core. I don't have all those details specifically in front of me, but the good news is we've already resolved that with a change on the Pollen side. So that's been tremendous. Doesn't require distributed upgrades of the radios, and doesn't impact everyone in the field. So a couple of key issues, and I'll focus a little more on these. We've had a couple of issues reported where, just some strange behaviors on the radios. One, we found that there was a slow download speed. And I think this is the most critical one that we've been working on to get to a second drop. And so we flew our field application engineer today into Pollen to kind of dig in and kind of put the stake in the heart of this issue. And fortunately, the update as of today, we've made a change in the maximum segment size, which, if you're familiar, that's the maximum size of TCP packet that can be sent. We've changed that size to reduce fragmentation in the network, and that resulted in speeds greater than 105 megabits per second on the downlink. So we're confident that this change is going to be something we can roll out with the new firmware across all the radios, indoor and outdoor radios. We'll be able to do that quickly once we have the new firmware. So tonight, after this call, I'll work with my development team to figure out, hey, when can we get this done? And we do have dedicated engineers that can turn this around quickly. So hopefully we have some good news for you guys in the next couple of days on when that will be resolved. Now that being said, there were a couple of other issues that we've been working through on just stability on the device. And the good thing about that is with the change on the core connection to Pollen and the speed test change, we're confident that these stability problems will be resolved as we know them today. So the last thing I definitely want to talk about in detail is about the range of the device. And I think this is more of just a minute of kind of education if this is not necessarily known kind of in the space. So CBRS is complicated by the fact that the power, the channel that's provided is all controlled by a backend system, right? And it's all dependent on where you live, interference in that location, etc. So if you put two radios beside each other, it's not guaranteed that one, they'll get the same channel bandwidth, could be 5, 10, 15, 20 megahertz per carrier. And our radios, our outdoor radios support and indoor radio support 2 carriers. So you could get up to 40 megahertz of spectrum. But note that there's only 150 megahertz of spectrum in that space. So you can only have so many radios. And then the power is also defined as well outside of our control. So our radios are rated as they're spec'd on the website. I'm not gonna spout them off this moment, but it's possible that they're given a lower power. So your radio, your neighbor's radio might have different range when you go do the test, and they also might have different performance when you go run those speed tests. So that's something just to keep in mind. Happy to answer more questions on that kind of when we get to the Q&A or in an email. You can always reach me at steven@mosalabs.com. It's STEPHEN. Okay, so I think I skipped over one technical issue, but again, that was resolved with the Pollen change on the IP set configuration. There was a rekeying problem, which we resolved already with Oscar on the call today. I want to highlight something else before I move on to the cool new products that we're working on, and that's logistics. So when we launched this product, we promised you guys that we would launch at a certain date. And we stuck by that promise and said, hey, we're going to sell today. Now, what that means is on the back end, we were building up some of those logistics process. We were building up how botness worked. And so we had a few kinks on the technical side, as I mentioned, and logistics side. So there were some manual things that were kind of done on the back end, but those have been significantly improved. I'll walk through those right now. So we have done Shopify integration on the back end, which makes information sharing for orders tremendously simpler. So we should have more seamless provisioning and configuration for radios on the Pollen side that are ordered through Mosa Labs. Shipping took a little bit longer than we hoped initially, and I'll explain why. Each one of these devices is individually etched before it's shipped out. And so our team on the logistics side in Memphis, Tennessee was kind of learning how to do those processes at scale. So we were a little bit delayed on getting some of those out, which we won't have this time around. The team is rock solid right now with the processes in place to handle that. And I think we could have done a better job on communicating during shipping. So as we had delays, we want to improve that going forward. Now, I want to put a little caveat on that because as we get into the holiday season, it's could become even worse, where once we provide the package to UPS, who we use for shipping, the timing is totally out of our hands. The updates that we get from UPS sometimes are very lacking. It depends on who picks up the package. Maybe they don't scan the package, for example. It could take, a couple of days before it's updated, which is very frustrating for me personally. Happy to answer any questions you guys have, but just wanted to make sure that's clear that some of that's out of our control, which is unfortunate, but we're happy to try to get more information as we go along during the holiday season because it could change. As we get into Christmas. All right, so 2 more things before look at the Q&A here. The next drop, we're looking at setting that date. I do want to offer like a special discount, particularly for the people that are on this call that are listening that have been supporting Mosa Labs through this process, and that's something we'll announce. I think we'll do it on Discord. I have to talk to Victoria and Emily about how to do that, but we'll make sure that's public with this this group. Maybe it's in the BeeHive chat, for example, to kind of give you guys a little bit of heads up on when it's going to be, as well as additional discounts on the radios when that happens. Last thing I'm just going to mention are the new devices. So there was a little bit of a, we'll call it a technical blip on our website where we were putting together some new pages for our cameras. We're building some CBRS cameras for the Resi space, so doorbell camera and a weatherproof battery camera, which can be installed indoors or outdoors, IP65 rated. You can use it wherever you want. You can plug it into a DC power source if you'd like as well. We're also building some cool adapters like a floodlight, for example, also kind of exploring solar panels as well. You can imagine there's a lot of cool rural or remote type applications you could build. We're also building some enterprise class devices that are cameras that would be available a little later next year. So the Resi devices we're targeting for Q1 of next year to be available through Mosa Labs. And the enterprise cameras would be a little bit later. We're still kind of working on that timing. Now, the thing with the enterprise radios is there's a cool little other product that we're working on, which is an Ethernet to CBRS adapter. And so that could have tons of applications. You can imagine any Ethernet device you have, you could make CBRS capable with this little device. So we're working on something like that too. Could really expand the use cases, the things that can connect to the network. Could be really, really exciting. So, kind of in closing, before we get to the Q&A, we're looking forward to this next drop, and we plan for it to be more seamless. And ahead of that drop, we'll have the new firmware that we plan to push to all the radios that are in the field today, with stability improvements, with speed test improvements being the major ones. So I'll stop. Victoria or Emily or Anthony, just let me know how you want to handle the questions. I'm happy to go read them through, or you guys can kind of choose which ones.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stephen. That was great, and we appreciate you joining and giving us the update on all hard work that you've done. I think we should just go through the questions and then go from there. I think the first one is 44 Court. Moso flower PoE connector location needs to be pointed downwards instead of outside. I don't know if that's a thing that you can fix or not, or if you want to address that at all.
So I would love to learn more about this 44 Court. If you can send me an email, just a little bit more information. I mean, we've built this product. Every single radio that leaves our factory is water tested. Now, what that means is it's literally placed in a bucket of water to make sure there's no ingress water. Now, you can imagine that is a very time-consuming process. Now, if we are seeing water ingress into the device, that is definitely something I want to know about, because we're very focused on quality of these devices. So pointing it downward, it is difficult. You can imagine the tooling for these devices is very expensive. And of course, it's not something we could change in the field as it is today. Yeah, but something we'll consider for future products.
Awesome. We're going to skip Colton's follow-up here. Advertised speed for the Moso flower is 200 megabit down. I think we've been able to see that, or do you want to talk about the...
We'll have to set up the dual carrier.
Yeah, so right now we run on a single carrier, and so we'll need to do dual carrier. So that's a change on our side that needs to happen to make that work. Okay.
Carrier aggregation.
So, yeah, carrier aggregation, correct. Dual carrier is a different...
It's different than ICL system.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an action item for us to follow up with most of the labs folks to make that happen.
I think the next question is this is more of a support issue, but it's worth bringing to Stephen's attention. It's from DHUD00. So I have an indoor Moso. I've had 2 power outages since it's been plugged in.
Power outages from the device or on the grid side, like the
Unclear.
Okay.
Yes. DHUD, can you clarify what is the source of your power outage? After the first power outage, it took 6 days for the blue LTE light to come back on. After the second power outage, which took place 3 weeks ago, it has not come back on. I'm in Santa Barbara and it's an incumbent area, but I have 3 buttercups also nearby and there are no issues with them. It says my SAS is suspended, but it doesn't make sense that it would be a SAS issue with all the other devices working. That is complicated soup. Are the buttercups greenhouse buttercups, or are they?
Doesn't really.
No,
Doesn't really matter. All the buttercups are registered.
Well,
Yeah.
let's have them. Let's hear if there's any comments live from Stephen first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'll give a few comments here, but I do think we definitely need a ticket to kind of
We need it.
investigate. I mentioned the complexity of the SAS. No one on this phone call controls the SAS. The SAS is federated wireless outside third party that can control if a device is potentially suspended. So what that could be the case is the device, for whatever reason, may be requested too many times. Like this is one of the stability updates that we have made in our latest firmware, which limits the number of times a device will go back and request the SAS grant. If it tries to request too many times, Federated Wireless could deem it as or put it on a block list or blacklist. So I need to check the serial number with Federated Wireless. So if we can get a ticket, we can look into that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm just estimating that is the worst case. We will definitely want to dig into this problem.
Yeah, and as always, like these calls are not an official statement. This is just kind of our best guess at answering these things. So take everything we say on here with a grain of salt, and we can follow up. People seem to like the CBRS to Ethernet adapter.
Yeah. Oh, Stephen, just a quick question. I don't know if you saw. Yeah. So just a quick thing with regards to the water. Court is saying that temperature changes cause swelling of your O-ring, which leaks. A simple dunk test doesn't account for temperature fluctuations.
Yeah, but they have the Gore vent too to do the venting.
Yeah. Wow.
So the issue is like so I've done a lot of hot, cold outdoor moisture egress problems, and the biggest problem is not the single time dunk test. It's when you're warm during the day and then condensation happens near an egress and you cool down. That creates a lower pressure inside the unit and it'll suck down any kind of liquid you have near a seal, unless you have a Gore vent, which is basically a pressure equalization valve that lets air and moisture in both ways, but no liquid. And they do have one on their units. So I don't know that that's the necessarily the right direction, but that's something that could be looked at. And I know that the design is mostly vulnerable to not having that vent. And so if you have it, then you should be fine.
Can it get blocked? Or
Hmm?
can it get blocked? Then?
No, it's pretty hard. It's possible, but like you can do a special test to see what happens there. But yeah. It could be that the cable's not installed correctly or leaks around the grommet or other things like that. So it's a little bit tricky there.
Cool. I think that's, and then we have a bunch of questions about you, Anthony, and who you are. Or like if you're on the call.
I am on the call. I'm the annoying one talking the whole time here.
Well, thanks for coming, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. Pleasure to have you.
Oh, we want to bring. We also have. We want to give a shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna.
I'm gonna say thank you to Stephen for
Of
being
course.
here. And
Yeah.
and we'll let. It sounds like we have a drop coming soon, and discounts for people who are on the call. So I took a screenshot of everybody who is currently in attendance, and we will reach out to you and let you know the information for getting access to the MOSO discount in the future. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Stephen.
Woot!
Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Hopefully this was informative for everyone. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out on Discord or email. Thanks.
Cool. All right. We have 5 minutes left. Do you want to bring up?
I just want to introduce our chief marketing officer. What the frick? Which is amazing. On here, her first name is also Sally, but I think we should be calling her What the frick from now on.
Yeah.
Can we call her up so she could say a couple things? I know she's
You're putting her
not
on the
feeling.
spot.
Of course, it's like that's part of the. There'll be a rookie dance at the all hands, so we can just maybe she's not ready to go, but
She says she can't talk. She's
Okay.
under the weather today, so she may have lost her voice.
all right, sounds good.
Right.
That's a good reason to not do that.
Wait, you guys, hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I did not lose my voice, and I hope to be back to 100% tomorrow, but I'm really excited to be here as a part of your guys' community. So thanks for having me in your first community session, and I will be back for the rest.
Yes.
Amazing. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, and then also we had Jumping Daisy provide the announcements earlier this week, or sorry, last week. So we're gonna do the buzz, the announcements in Discord, just kind of what's going on. We'll do those every other week. So you get community call with us, and then every other week you get the buzz. So it's
Awesome.
lots of content come in.
Yes. Follow-up questions. When do we get the weekly validations?
Once we get the real time up and running.
Yeah, it's next
So-
up. It's being worked on, but there's no promises to dates.
We don't have a date.
Otherwise, it'll slip, and then people will be disappointed.
Yeah.
But we understand it's a important thing to make things easier for everyone.
I think after we start migrating stems.
So the stem migration is important. I think the having post a certain number of BB validations is probably a good call on that. I really like that. And we really want to incentivize the handoffs. So in that region of things. Cool. Any other questions? Comments? Or more? No, you didn't.
How's the smart contract with conversions coming for on ramps?
It's part of the PGP process, so there are some interesting proposals in there. We just need to decide on the path we're going to take.
Cool.
Question on staking.
The community conversation, the channel around staking, I think has been really informative. There's some really good ideas in there.
Yeah, we talked about staking for handoffs and staking for additional hexes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Oh, and then well, a bunch of people are typing. It's like a frenzy all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay. So the new person was Sally, our
Yes.
chief marketing officer. But she joined at the end of the call. Steven was here from Moso as well.
Bishop is
And
here.
Fisher, obviously, thank you for joining and giving updates. And then we just have Christian, Victoria, Oscar, Emily, Shri, and myself, Anthony, on.
And Victoria is mentioning Kelsey doing the buzz.
Chelsea,
Yeah, that's
Jumping
correct.
Daisy.
Mhm.
Yep. Cool. All right. Let's wrap it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.